Hello and welcome everyone to the WooPlayers Q&A weekly webinar call. We're going to get started here in just a minute, but before we do, we just need to confirm that you can both hear my voice as well as see my screen. So if you'll be so kind as to just confirm that audio and video are okay in the chat box, we would greatly appreciate that, and then we can get started. Thank you. Alrighty, seems like we're getting some confirmations and people are joining. So welcome everybody once again. Hello, William, Dean, Jade. This is the WooPlayers Q&A weekly webinar call. My name is Peter and I am the WooPlayers product manager. We are holding these calls in order to answer any questions which you as users may have, also to provide training on any advanced features, showcase how you can utilize WooPlayer to make your business more manageable and empower it with video. Also to showcase new stuff that we've been working on so that you know everything that's latest and available for you to leverage, and also to gather feedback from you guys as users in order to continue improving WooPlayer, that is. Hello, Louis, as well. So the webinar itself, the replays of it are available both on our YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook group. One side note here, recently our YouTube channel got eligible for a branded channel, so we're now youtube.com/channel/WooPlayer. So if you haven't thus far, feel free to subscribe to the channel. That there's a lot of great content there aside from the webinar replays, and that really helps us with the video marketing and SEO effort. So we would appreciate that. Sorry for that brief tangent. So the webinar replays are available on the YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook group. Also, if you are not able to attend the webinar, we are welcoming taking in the questions via either the Facebook group, or you can just contact us at support@woopplayer.com, and that way we can discuss your questions in the following webinar if they require extensive and elaborative explanations. So, all right, that's enough for the introduction stuff. I don't know if I missed any housekeeping notes there. I believe I haven't. So that's great. So we can get to some of the stuff that I wanted to briefly touch upon. Oh yeah, I forgot about the format of the webinar. So I think everybody here is probably familiar with the format, but I'll just go over it again, so you can just at any time post a question in the chat group, and we'll start answering them in the order that they come in. So if you came prepared with any questions, now would be a good time to let us know what they are in the chat box. All right, great. So that's it for the introduction. Couple of announcements that I wanted to make really briefly before getting to the questions. First one being, so I mentioned on the last webinar call that we are considering turning on the beta performance optimization by default to all users, or rather to all of the embed codes, and that's something that we're going to start doing starting next week. So just be aware of that. So the beta performance optimization will be on by default. You of course still have a opportunity to opt out of it, if you will. We feel that we've gathered enough feedback and implemented enough improvements to it that we can kind of remove the beta tag from it and just call it performance optimizations. But just in case something is still we still haven't covered something, we're going to allow that to be turned off. But by default, it's just going to be on, and that's going to continue to help us understand it a little bit better, so that we can optimize it even further, so that new people coming in will immediately start feeling the benefits of this. Just a brief summary of the beta performance optimizations, if there are any new people on the call who are not aware with it of what it is. So the beta performance optimizations are changing the embed code and the way it works, so that basically VooPlayer videos load instantly and are not impacting the page load times and other performances, such as the data processing times and the video streaming times. However, that's something new that we're working on, so that's why we kind of labeled it as beta and enable people to opt into it at this time. All right, so that's one thing that I wanted to talk about now that I see. So a lot of people here who are in the webinar I have some side conversations with, so I'll just follow up on some of those things. So I responded, Louis, I responded to your email with regards to the download option. So and I responded earlier today, and after that we kind of started playing around with it. So we were able to figure out a few things that I think will be pleasing. So the first thing that we are going to change is that currently you can't enable downloading for secured videos. So we're going to change that. So we're going to make it so you're even able to download secured videos. We're kind of going to decrypt them on the server, and then allow the people to download that decrypted version. So first thing, the download is going to become available for secured videos as well. So that's one thing. Second thing is that after some brief exploration, we figured out a way to initiate the downloads directly rather than have the videos open up in a new page or a new tab. So that's an approach that we're going to implement both for secured and non-secured videos. So my expectation is that by next release, that's going to be implemented and ready. So we're going to apply that approach both for secured and non-secured videos. So all of them will be just acting as regular file downloads. So I just want to say thanks for the persistence and the feedback which you've provided. And the priority which you've pushed over the last couple of months on that. We finally got around to it. We haven't forgotten about it. So persistence pays off. So that's something that's going to become available fairly soon. Also, there's ongoing conversations around what do I want to talk about? Ongoing conversations around personalization in videos. So that's also something that we're starting to actively consider, sort of with the performance enhancements we made, the mobile improvements to the appearance functionality and playback of VooPlayer. Kind of the next thing that's popping up behind the scenes is and this is in combination with integration. So the combination of integrations and personalization in video. So integrations with third-party systems such as CRMs, and the ability to provide custom URLs which would be taken in as parameters is something that we're thoroughly exploring and are currently in the process of kind of putting together some proofs of concept on how that could work. So that's something that's going on beyond the scenes, and I know that I have some ongoing conversations with regards to that personalization and how it's working. So we are working on that in parallel as well. So keep that in mind as we move forward, just as far as with regards to kind of what the roadmap looks like. Of course, we're continuing to optimize performance, continuing to ensure that the mobile is well and fine, and kind of the next thing that's popping up is how we're gonna start handling really powerful integrations and leveraging those integrations inside of videos. All right, So let's see. Lewis is saying, once I saw it could be done, I thought there must be a way to do it on BluePlayer as well. Yeah, there is a way. It's a bit of a walk in the woods type of a process, because we kind of have to take that file, decrypt it, store it again on our server, and then enable people to download it. But I believe it's worth the effort. So it's something that that we can accomplish. Any idea on the timeline for analytics for overlays / annotations? Any idea on the timeline for analytics for overlays and annotations? So that's the conversation we were having around being able to track and analyze interactions with the overlays themselves, such as clicks inside of overlays, etc. We haven't gotten that much feedback or requests for that, so stay persistent on that, as I know you will. So we'll be sure to start working on that as well. We're kind of, as you imagine, we are kind of taking things in larger chunks, larger batches, and are working on it, allowing a lot of feedback to collect around one particular thing, and then start working on it as we did for the Overlays 2.0. So at this point, with Overlays 2.0 kind of wrapped up, we are kind of putting together the batch for Overlays 3.0, and I'm not necessarily sure what the timeline for that looks like. It largely depends on the value we feel provided, which comes out of the user feedback. So the more we hear about it, the sooner we'll get to it. To put it in those words, as I mentioned, kind of with regards to what we're focusing on, examining currently, and figuring out how we can make BluePlayer even better, is cross integrations with outside platforms, and leveraging the data from those platforms both ways, meaning allowing people to update their customer profiles on those other systems and platforms, and vice versa, allowing them to use that data in BluePlayer to personalize some of the content, which I believe is the next thing that brings a lot of value. So that's what we're currently kind of looking at. So Lewis is also asking, is there any way of resizing an image after uploading and being used in an overlay / annotation? So if you're using an image for an overlay and annotation, the image itself is not being resized, just the display of that image is being resized. So if you, for example, let me just take a look at something. So if I want to come over here and say I want to create a new overlay, and let's say I'll use something with an image, so I'll just use this image link, and it's worth kind of pointing out that the template is called a template for a reason. It expects some things to work with it. So for example, with this template, we kind of specified somewhat of a placeholder value on what we kind of expect the format of that image to be. So this template will work best and look best with a square image, whereas if I upload something, I don't know, let me see if I can find something, campaign tracking, let's put that image in there, because I know it's a weird looking image. So that itself is going to make the template start looking a little bit not optimal, let's put it that way. But then again, you really kind of have to consider which templates you want to use, which resources you want to use with which template. So each template kind of has its own purpose, and if you feel that you can't necessarily customize that template thoroughly with the resources that you have, that might need that we need to create a different template which is better adapted to those resources. So for example, all right, well, this doesn't look that great with this image, and this image is not even visible with regards to what I wanted to show there. So I would probably need a different template for it. So instead of that, I'll use maybe this template, and here I can see that image much more clearly, and maybe I should use this template. So again, if the kind of the default settings around how a template is formatted, and you want to use resources such as images or a large amount of copy, whereas the template was designed for a small amount of copy, the template itself will adapt to certain extent to which it can. But again, if you're pushing the limits of the template one way or another beyond of what it was designed to do, that's probably an indication that we probably need to come up with a better template to adapt to those needs which you have. So no particular way to resize images, in short answer, but rather all of the templates are kind of designed with some presets in mind. So if you care to, feel free just to initiate a conversation around that, and what you're kind of trying to achieve and how you want the template, the overlay to look like, and then we can identify from there maybe what kind of a new template would be best suited to accommodate those needs. And as I mentioned previously, we did start getting a lot of new ideas for the templates and how they can be worked in, and what they could look like, and what kind of some of the custom functionality behind them. So there's a lot of good new feedback which is compiling for Overlays 3.0. So looking forward to that feedback as well. All right, so TB saying performance optimization is still missing for sub account. All right, let me make a note of that right now, so I don't forget again. I was pretty confident that that was resolved previously. Just give me 1 second, just so I don't forget, and I'll just note that right now. All right, that's from TB. All right, cool. Noted, and I'll look into that first thing tomorrow morning. Apologies for that. I was pretty confident that was sorted. William, awesome news in references to personalization and integration, most likely. Alan is welcome, Alan. Better late than never. Lewis is saying, I think I'm correct in saying that YouTube replaced annotations with cards because of problems on mobile. I hope that I am right on that the annotation on WooPlayer are 100% good on mobile. That is a very difficult question, and I'll try to answer it as simply as I can. So if, for example, we take this overlay, so let me just save it. So it's going to be from second 1 to, I don't know, this is not a long video, so to second 4. Let's say, for example, let me just save that. Save the video itself. So I'll come over here to watch it, and I'll make my player a little bit smaller so as to simulate it being on a mobile device. So as we can see, the templates themselves are remaining as true to the fidelity that they can, meaning that, of course, we can't have the original content and the original sizes of that content optimized on mobile. However, what we are doing is basically scaling everything down back to its originating point. So if at this point, let's just take an assumption that the player is 1,000 pixels big, and this overlay is 200 pixels on a player that is 500 pixels wide, this overlay is just going to be 100 pixels. So basically, we're just narrowing or scaling down everything proportionately to a certain extent in order to maintain the consistency across layouts and what you're trying to achieve across all of the devices. So hopefully that's a statement which makes sense. So without wanting to confuse anybody, but we are also for Overlays 3.0 considering a lot of templates which would be mobile only, basically. So some of you might have probably seen this. So currently in templates, if I come over here to this overlay templates and come over here to settings for it, I have options of, hey, do I want this to display on desktop and mobile, or do maybe I just wanted to display on desktop. So kind of the idea behind this is some things are just going to look great on desktop, and you can fit a lot more content, et cetera, and have more interesting layouts and so on. Whereas with mobile, you're going to need something more simpler, et cetera. So that's why we're kind of taking this approach where for Overlays 3.0, we're thinking along the lines of you're going to be able to create, but you can do it with the same template. So you can just create this template and then you can just clone it. So I want to have this template, and then I'll just clone it. So I'll just clone this overlay, and then I'll have two, and then I can optimize one for mobile display, and I can optimize the other for desktop display, and then I can respectively turn on those displays for those individual overlays. So that's one of the things that we are also looking forward towards Overlays 3.0, making that experience even better. But the overlays as they are currently, as I mentioned, are working on all mobile devices. The decision which we made of just scaling everything down proportionately, I think makes a lot of sense initially, but it could definitely be improved upon with better handling of mobile first or mobile only templates, if you will. The alternative to that decision, which we had, was making everything sort of responsive. But the problem with that is that for this amount of text, if you had this amount of space, that would start overflowing over the video. And I guess we could be somewhat smart with scrolling or what we wanted to achieve with that content. But basically we said that's just going to be a really inconsistent experience across different devices, and different people are going to see different things. So that's definitely something that we don't want to mess with, and that's why we haven't done anything in that regard. So we just decided to scale everything down proportionally. So hopefully that's making sense, and that clarified sort of the direction which we took with the display of overlays on mobile. All right, let me see if I missed any questions. I don't see any other questions. Let me just think for a second if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. Nothing comes to mind, so we'll give it a few more minutes just to see if here's Stevie. May I kindly ask if you can dedicate at least one developer for sub-account white label, please. Anytime there is a new release, most errors that were fixed comes back. Like the last time you made it, you were tasked to fix the playlist that was not loading for sub-accounts, and WooPlayer newsletter was also disabled for white label accounts, but both this errors reappeared last week. Not necessarily sure what most of those are, but again, I would stress definitely going through the support channels on figuring that out. I don't have the ability to kind of reference all of those issues at this time. Even if I wanted to, I would need to look at those tasks individually with regards to why that happened. So best to handle any bugs and issues and whatever comes to it through the support channels. With regards to your question of dedicating resources to particular issues, that's just not something that we're doing with anything. As I mentioned, we usually focus on larger chunks of particular issues or related issues, and then work with them. A dedicated effort to improving white label accounts or reseller accounts is just something that hasn't happened yet. So at a particular time, that will also come up, and we'll start optimizing everything left and right with regards to white label accounts. we apologize if there's been any missed or reversed fixes. But yeah, we're going to have to continue answering those on per request basis, at least currently. Lewis is sending over a link. Let me just open it up. Let's take a look at it. I think I know what this issue is. So there's no timeline. So Lewis, this is with regards to the skin which you've chosen for this player. This is the YouTube skin, if I'm not mistaken, and that's something that popped up recently for the YouTube skin. You don't have the timeline, but if you change the skin to anything else other than YouTube, if you just have the Wool player skin on it, then you should have everything to continue to work as it is with regards to all of the controls down there. The YouTube skin itself is somewhat convoluted, so just changing the skin to a Facebook skin or a Twitter skin or the Wool player skin, as we always recommend, will ensure that the timeline appears and is available. All right, cool. I'm going to start wrapping up unless there is one last question. All right, cool. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time and joining this week. Productive discussion. I think that we're kind of on the same page on what we want to do and how we're progressing. TB, I will follow up with regards to that issue that we had with regards to both playlists and the access to the performance optimization for sub accounts, etc. So hopefully we'll be able to work on that more this week and resolve some of that stuff. I'm able to, all I can promise you is I'm able to dedicate some of my time to it, but when it comes to development, that's just a different ball game. William beat me to it. Happy 4th of July to everybody tomorrow, and hopefully we'll see you next week, and we'll continue to make Wool Player even better. Bye.